Welcome to the Africa Trade Show on BusinessFront TV, where we unpack the money, the movements, and the markets powering Africa's trade. This is In the Room with the Light Sunny. When we talk about the Nigerian economy, we're really talking about approximately 40 million MSMEs. These small and medium-sized enterprises are the engine of growth, making up almost half of Nigeria's GDP. Recently, Intelpoint released a report on Nigeria's MSMEs that had some very interesting findings. Today, we're moving beyond the statistics to ask the hard questions. And with us is the head of research at Intelpoint, Yinka Awosanya. He'll be giving insights into what the MSME market means for trade in Nigeria. Intelpoint just released a report on MSMEs in Nigeria. Yep. And one major take for me was the fact that female-owned businesses, MSMEs, they generate 1.1 million naira more than male-led SMEs. Yes. What do you think that is?
So it's tricky because I looked at the figure. I'm like, okay, yes, there are more male entrepreneurs in the country, according to our survey. But then you now look at the revenue that is coming in. The female are doing more in revenue than what the female, their male counterpart is doing. So a few things. It might be a case of yes, the female are doing a larger volume, larger ticket items. They are selling large ticket items. Say, they are selling air, for instance, and one air is going for, say, 100, 200, and you have the male counterpart doing way lesser tickets, say, 10K, 50K, 20K. So definitely that contributes to that. So I believe that's one of the major reasons why you have more female doing a larger monthly revenue than males. And then there's also the fact that yes, so you have fewer female that are doing things. So, and if you have a large number among those, so it kind of like affects the figure at the end of the day. So if you have 10 people doing 1 million naira and you have 100 people doing 2 million naira, some doing 2 million, some doing below. So when you average it out, definitely you have the females still doing way better.
Okay, do you think that maybe the sectors that these females focus on, so maybe food, beverages, things like that, do you think that also affects or that also impacts their revenue?
Definitely. So say someone that is selling food by the roadside or in a shop, it opens every day, 7 days a week, and at times up to 12 hours a day. And at every point, you see people going in to go and buy food. But someone, say a man selling electronics, for instance, the sales is not coming. There are days that they might not have someone coming to say, okay, what are you even selling? So that's that. So it's definitely the sectors that they play in, the kind of goods that they are selling, definitely play a role in the volume that they are recording at the end of the month.
At the end of the month, okay. So let's talk about regional trade now for this. I'm still on the whole women-led MSMEs. Yes. Okay, so in terms of regional trade, I think one major question is, are women really involved in regional trade, say between Southwest and maybe the North, or the North and maybe South-South, or like within Nigeria itself?
Oh, yeah. Of course. So you have someone selling beans and they are bringing the beans from the North. So you have people selling, say, tomato, pepper in Lagos, and those are coming from the North. You have the yam, you have the others coming from the North. So you have other goods coming from the Middle Belt, coming from the South. So definitely that's happening because the Southwest, for instance, doesn't grow everything that the region is consuming. So you also have the fact that yes, the Southwest is close to the port. You bring something from outside the country through the port and is going to the Southwest. Lagos, for instance, is serving as the distribution point from those things. Those things come from the port, and then from there it goes to the south, goes to the east, goes to the other part of the western. So it's definitely there is still happening. So it's not a question of what you are selling. So if you are selling something that is not in your region, definitely you interact with other people from other regions to get that in.
Okay, and women are at the center of that trade. Okay, all right. So let's move on to, in your report, it showed that MSMEs they contribute almost half of Nigeria's GDP.
Yeah, about 47, 48%.
Yes, but then in contrast, they had like 6% exports.
Yeah, so MSMEs are just basically your regular guys doing here and we're doing, I think the highest is around having an asset of about 100 million thereabouts. So they are not really, yes, there are some that are doing export, but they are not really producing. The ones that are producing, they are not really producing for export. They're just like, okay, doing the duty that they can do to they are not doing in large quantities. Say your Boa, for instance. Boa has the capacity to say they have hundreds of thousands of acres of land that they are doing, and at the end of the day, they produce what they are producing, have the ones for local, and the remaining they are exporting. But the ones that are doing your regular MSMEs, they don't have that capacity to say, yes, let's play in the export business. Yes, there are some that are doing that, but then the volume is not. So you have the Bank of Industry. There is a project that initiated by the Bank of Industry with US, for instance. I'm not sure if it's still, I think it's called, is it Agora? I can't remember, but there is a initiative between the US and Bank of Industry. And what they do is prepare MSMEs to export their products to the US. So, but then the volume is still still very small compared to what the big guys are doing. So definitely, yes, they really contribute small because there is a whole lot that has to do with export. For export, they're talking about standardization. So the product you're exporting has to meet certain standards, and this MSMEs going through that standards might be added cost for them. But then, are they ready to bear that to meet up with what they want to meet up?
Okay, and do you think there's a way they can position themselves to actually be involved in, maybe even if it's not like exports to bigger countries, maybe within Africa itself? Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So take the AFCTA, for instance. So it's supposed to help the inter-Africa trade and all that. Definitely. So it's just a case of position them, make sure that they have the right licenses. So you have the right licenses as well as standardization. So you say you're exporting your goods, your farm produce, for instance, to Ghana. So it gets to the custom. Before it gets to the custom, you make sure that it meets the right standard. It meets the international standard. What people, if you export it to Ghana, what people in Ghana want. Yeah. So it's not a case of, yes, because Nigeria, this thing sells in Nigeria, it should sell there. No, it has to meet the standard. And that's why you have the Standard Organization of Nigeria. Okay, does your product meet this criteria? Same for goods coming into the country. So you meet the standards before you can say yes. You can. So it's definitely a case of making sure that, yes, they align their products with the standard, and then definitely.
Okay. And then another thing in your report is the 13 trillion naira credit gap.
Yes.
Do you think that's also a value that affects the whole them playing in bigger trade?
Yes, it's definitely so. Because you look at, I think it was last year, 2 years ago, did a report, and we look at, and one of the figures that we look at was that deficit, and then we now compare that deficit to what the commercial banks in Nigeria has given out as loan. And commercial banks in Nigeria are giving about less than 10%, I believe, of their entire portfolio to small businesses. And so what that means is, say, for every 10 million that is going out to them, only about a million is going to these small businesses. And there's a case of, yes, this one doesn't have the documentation to say, I'm approaching the bank to get this loan. And the few that have it might be a case of, yes, their books might not be in order for them to present to do that. Yes, but if we're able to close this gap, definitely they need to play more in the local market as well as the international market. But then that means all hands must be on deck. So you have the government making sure that, yes, there are policies in place to prepare these small businesses for bank loans, for other form of funding, investment funding. And then on the part of the businesses, make sure that, yes, you're running a business and you're not using your personal bank accounts, your personal accounts to run the business. So you have the company account, and then your CAC is up to date and all that, because you are getting a loan. The bank is going to do its background check and make sure, oh yeah, will this person pay? as the company been filing the required yearly income, so all those definitely. But then you fill all this, you have the standard in place. Definitely, to position them to get part of the money that is coming to businesses.
Okay, so only 25% of businesses have accessed government grants and financing, basically. Why do you think that is so low?
Okay, so it's tricky. So because government grants, in most cases, it's here. So the government tells you they are giving you something, and at the end of it, it doesn't come. So was it this morning or last night that I saw a tweet, and then someone quoted that yes, they did with one bank in Nigeria, one government, I think the government, Nigerian Development Bank or something. So it's a picture of the guy taking the picture with, taking a handshake with someone from the bank with a certificate, and then saying that they promised them grants, and over 2 years they've not gotten the grant. And then I think Dr. Neto then quoted that yes, he has been burned so many times. So it's a case of yes, do I trust that when the government say they are giving me a grant, the amount of effort I'm going to put into it, will it be worth it at the end of the day? If you apply for a grant 2 months and you are yet to see, definitely you move on and just forget about it. So definitely the grant is still not, yes, it's supposed to help cushion the effect of them getting, because grant is basically free money. So it's supposed to help the small businesses to cushion the effect. But then the question is it coming in? And then when it comes in, when the government said they are giving people grants, are they really giving those grants?
Okay. All right. So do you then think that online platforms like digital trade platforms, e-commerce platforms, do you think they have the, would they be a game changer for these MSMEs to actually scale in bigger trade opportunities?
Definitely. So you have the bigger e-commerce in Nigeria that allow you list, and then you are not thinking about making any registration. You just go online or open up their portal, register as a merchant, and then you start. So you are in Lagos, and then you are selling to someone that is in the north, in the south, wherever. And there are also these same platforms that allow you even sell to outside Nigeria. So it's just a case of yes, the platform are there already, and they give them the potential to go beyond their immediate environment. But then, so it's a case of, are they positioning themselves to say yes, I will make use of this platform without looking at the charges that comes with it, because using these platforms, you need to pay them. You are paying, and at times you are paying per sales, and you're also paying some solution and stuff like that. So then looking beyond that, I'm like, yes, let me get my goods and services across to as many people as possible.
Okay. So what do you think a trade-ready MSME ecosystem in Nigeria would look like?
A trade-ready MSME ecosystem in Nigeria. So it will look simple as, say, an MSME with all the necessary documentation can approach a commercial bank or a development bank or an SME-focused bank, or even a microfinance bank, and approach them to say, yes, I am getting a loan, and the loan, the interest is not going to be as heavy as possible, so that it doesn't add more to the burden on them. So yes, that's one. And then there's also the part of the government support. So we'll talk about grant. So making sure that yes, the people that are getting the grants are actually the ones that needed the grants in the first place. And there's also the part of yes, there's them, and then not looking at, okay, yes, you're giving grants and you just look at, oh, this person is my friend, this person is my friend, I'll give him. You are not my friend, I'm not giving you grants. So not doing that, yes, so that, and then making sure that the other key part would be that the SME have their products, especially the ones that are producing, are export ready. that okay, yes, the standard of what they are producing can meet international standard to say yes, I'm exporting to Ghana, I'm exporting to the US, I'm exporting to Europe or even Asia. So definitely, so you have people in Asia doing, so you are ordering something from AliExpress, for instance, and it's just a small business that is doing it, and then shipping AliExpress just take care of it. So the same way the guys in, I believe there is Africa, or what's that? I can't remember. It's Africa. Yeah. Yes. So that's something like that, and then you export from Africa to the rest of the world.
Okay. So what would you say are some misconceptions about MSMEs that you covered in your report, that you exposed?
Misconception. I believe it would be about revenue. So you go online and see people who CEO in their profile. Yes, they're CEO of the business they are making. But then our report says that about half of these businesses are doing less than 100K in revenue in a month.
100,000 naira?
Yes, in a month. So you have the guys that are doing 10, 5, but then they have about half of them doing less than 100. So yeah, you're going to business, you're running a small business, but then it's not all bread and roses, or what's that word? So definitely, yes, so that's, I believe, it's one of the misconceptions that, okay, yes, you enter into it, you enter into money. If you are not selling everyday item, things that people need, like food and all that, what people will be buying every day, and then there's also the part of turnover. You can just have the goods sitting in your shop without selling them. And that's one mistakes that people make. So you have goods, yes. So you sell it for 5 naira and it moves fast. You have a higher turnover, and then the little margin piled up. But if something you're supposed to sell for that, you're selling for 100K, I mean 100 naira. So that means the number of people that will come into your shop to buy that thing is certainly reduced. Affect your turnover, affect your income and all that. So.